If you thought Arsenal needed a trophy, just wait until you hear how long it's been since Newcastle last got their hands on silverware. 1955. 1955! It has been nearly 70 years since Newcastle last got their hands on silverware. Let's preview Arsenal against Newcastle at the Emirates Stadium. It's leg one of the League Cup semi-final. Welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year if it's your first time back here. I'm Charles and I'm here to preview the League Cup semi-final, or do we now call it the Carabao Cup? I'm not really sure, but to me it's the League Cup, it's been the Milk Cup, the Coca-Cola Cup, but now, hopefully, it's Arsenal's Cup. So much has been made of Arsenal needing to get their hands on a trophy. There are a lot of people out there who think Arteta has spent a lot of money and has very little to show for it. He has an FA Cup, essentially. And much as most fans of most clubs would mock the League Cup as not quite being a real cup, Man City have kind of changed what it's about now, and it seems perfectly plausible that you get a good winner each year. In fact, the four semi-finalists as we head into these semi-finals, it's Arsenal against Newcastle, two big-hitting teams doing well in the league, and it's Spurs against Liverpool. Well, one of them's doing well at least. Fresh off the back of a pretty frustrating draw against Brighton down at the Amex Stadium on the south coast, Arsenal fans will be braying for Arteta to do a little bit better in this. Arsenal head into this fixture with quite a lot of injuries, but they are 13 games unbeaten in all competitions, which is no mean feat, especially when it comes to cup football. January, ridiculously busy month, so there's 9 fixtures all in for Arsenal. They're 2 games into that, the win against Brentford away, the draw away at Brighton. Now it's time to come back to the Emirates. We have a lot of back-to-back home ties, and hopefully the home turf and home advantage allows us to progress where we need to. The fixtures we have this month include a League Cup semi-final, an FA Cup third round tie, some Champions League, and of course Premier League. The North London Derby is randomly next Wednesday, or maybe a week on Wednesday, I forget, but coming up soon. Point being, this is the time where seasons are made or lost. And for Arsenal, if they don't turn up tonight against Newcastle, you might see the fans slightly turning on the club and the owners during this transfer window. Equally, if we continue with the League Cup form we've had so far, maybe the League Cup could be the remedy we need to get ourselves back on track and to look competitive again. Arsenal are, on the whole, one of the big League Cup teams this year. We've had 3 big wins. We started off against Bolton, and it's where Ethan Nwaneri really put his name down as being a top talent at 17 years old, getting 2 goals. We then had a big win against Preston North End away. Again, Nwaneri was very good, but Kivior himself came out of nowhere as being kind of a standout player in that match. In the defence, he looked really solid, which is not what we've been saying in the league about young Kivior from Poland. But maybe this will be the competition. He gets come back and you'll see Gabriel rested today, or maybe Calafiori at left-back rested. I doubt it, but I was impressed with what Kivior did. And then in the last round, it was the return of Gabby Jesus. He got a hat-trick against Crystal Palace in a completely ding-dong affair, I guess. It was 5-2 to Arsenal against Palace. And Gabriel Jesus, that was his kind of mega 12 days, right, where he got a hat-trick against Palace, then a brace against Palace, and then a goal against Brighton? No. Sorry, it was a goal against Brentford, wasn't it? So yes, Gabriel Jesus got his goal against Brentford. He's back in form, and if he can keep doing what he's done in the earlier rounds of the League Cup, I think we'll be in an okay place. It feels like this is the competition where we could finally kick on. But Newcastle are red hot and on form. In the league, they are motoring up. I think it was 4 game weeks ago they found themselves down in 9th, I think it was. They're now up to 5th, and they are right on the coattails of Chelsea. And to be honest, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be worried. Where Arsenal and Nottingham Forest and Liverpool keep picking up points, so do Newcastle. Chelsea might be in a little bit of free fall, and they might even look even further over their shoulder to Man City. But this isn't about Chelsea. This is Arsenal, Newcastle. Newcastle on form. Alexander Isak looks exceptional. He looks like the kind of player, I don't know, that Arsenal might want to buy in this window. It's clearly not going to happen because they're doing a little bit well, but they'll want to keep him quiet. You'll remember earlier in the season, Isak scored the only goal in a 1-0 win for Newcastle up at St James's Park. It was a pretty drab affair, and the way it's set up there is how I think it will go in the Emirates. Arsenal had 64% possession and very much had all the ball, but didn't have any shots, didn't really have too many clean-cut chances, and largely just looked a bit flat. Newcastle, on the other hand, looked deadly, when they wanted to get an attack going. They were very good on the counter, very good on set pieces, and in fact it was an Isak header off a fantastic cross to put them ahead. So they will head into the Emirates, I guess, with the same setup. I think they'll be defensive and they'll want to keep their kind of their defence covered, really. If Arsenal do get attacking and behind them and on the break, they could be in trouble. But we've seen teams come to the Emirates. If you shut up shop and you have to give Arsenal the ball and just let them work it around that semicircle in either corner, you kind of get results. And I'm not really sure how Arsenal are going to overcome that. The huge news for both sides are the injuries or the suspensions. So Bruno G loves an elbow against Arsenal, will not be playing. That's big. Equally, Kai Havertz hasn't been playing because he's had a stomach bug or an illness. He loves a slide tackle against Newcastle. I don't think it's lost on anybody, whether you're a fan of either club or a neutral. Arsenal and Newcastle love kicking lumps out of each other, and I suspect it will be the same here. A bit of time wasting, which has been a traditional thing from Newcastle to do at the Emirates, and the time wasting recently apparently comes from Arsenal. Nwaneri getting a yellow card in the last game ridiculously. He was, after 20 seconds, the referee warned him that he was taking too long, even though I don't think I've seen many corners taken 20 seconds for when the ball went out of play. But that's by the by. We can argue that another day. Arsenal, though, won't have Nwaneri. He's been super talented and come in and shown real aggressive kind of playing with the ball in a very positive way. He is out with an injury for a couple of weeks. Saka, of course, is still out, and so is Raheem Sterling. So on the right-hand side, we have to play around with it. Assuming the virus has been going around the Arsenal camp and making some players sit out, Ødegaard and Martinelli on the bench, for example, and Havertz not being in the squad for the last two games. If we can overcome it, we have enough players. Gabby Jesus, Kai Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli. That's 4 players for 3 positions, so we should be fine. However, when you tinker with a squad, especially when they're a bit tired and it's during a League Cup League Cup run, both Newcastle and Arsenal could shape up a little bit differently tonight, and I look forward to seeing what those lineups are. I think Newcastle will be super confident that they can get either a 1-0 aggregate loss or a draw, which I think would be fine for them going back to St James's Park. They're very good there. I think what they need to do is to keep it tight tonight, stop Arsenal playing, stop us putting it in the back of the net, and who knows, maybe they come away with a win or get a scrappy goal. It's not unheard of for a team like Newcastle to be able to do that, so good luck to them, I guess. The crowd might not be as big as normal. I think tickets are still on sale. I don't really understand the logic of an 8 p.m. League Cup tie on a Tuesday. I guess that's how it is, right? But in a month that has 9 fixtures, I don't think it's going to be your usual crowd. It wasn't included in the season ticket, which you won't really know unless you're a season ticket holder. But the way it works is Arsenal's season tickets have changed in recent years, especially with the new Champions League format. You get all the home league games, plus all the Champions League group stage games, and you get first dibs on cup tickets, but you don't have to accept it. And for a lot of fans, Tuesday, 8 p.m, not really that palatable, especially if you don't know the outcome of the tie until the second leg. So we'll see what the crowd is like inside. Newcastle always bring good fans. I'm expecting a big lad to have his top off. It's a cold night down here in London. But you might not know this, the viewer, but I live just outside the Emirates Stadium. In fact, like 50 to 100 metres that way is the stadium. I'll be watching it on TV. There is a 7-second delay between what I see and what I hear. So I'll be hearing whether a goal goes in before I see it on TV. It's a very weird position to be in, and if you ever get the chance to live near a football stadium that has a loud crowd like the Arsenal, it's fascinating. Normally I'm in the stadium, I won't be there tonight, but I will be enjoying the atmosphere outside and seeing how it goes. The final thing I wanted to touch on was VAR, and I'm not going to talk about Saliba's penalty or the red cards earlier in the season. I'm talking about what's happening tonight in the League Cup. For the first time this season, the VAR system will be in use for the semi-finals. Bit weird to change it through a competition. But what they're also going to be doing is, for the first time this season, they're debuting something that they trialled with the Women's World Cup and at youth level. It is any VAR decision will be announced by the referee on what they're looking at and what has been what the outcome is. So rather than seeing it on a small screen with a weird QR code, by the way, in the stadium, who's using that QR code? I don't know. But anyway, rather than it being on a screen with little to no replay and no audio, there will be a referee telling us what his decision is, what the outcome is, and hopefully it builds a bit more drama, a bit more transparency. I fully expect Arsenal to be screwed over by a VAR decision because that's just how our season's going. But if VAR does get involved, at least we will see that for the first time in the League Cup and in kind of men's senior English football, it will be announced by the referee. I hope they have a good voice, whoever they are. Final stat, just to throw at you, Arsenal do have a fantastic record against Newcastle at the Emirates. It's 16 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss out of 19 played, so I am hoping that Arsenal win. My match prediction is for Arsenal to win, but I think it will only be 2-1. I think Newcastle will be set up tightly. Arsenal, I think, will be a bit too much, and will know they need to get a result in advance of that second leg. But Newcastle are deadly. They're in form. I hope we get to a final. I don't think Arteta needs it, but I very much would happily take a League Cup if it was on show. But forget this, there's a second semi-final between Spurs and Liverpool, and weirdly, I think I want Spurs and Arsenal to get to a final just so we can beat them in a final. But otherwise, Liverpool have more fixtures. Maybe it's good for them to get to a final so they're a bit more tired. The final isn't until March this year. It normally falls at the end of February, but this year it will be in March, at the end of March. So it's a long drawn-out competition. But for any Arsenal fans going tonight, enjoy it. If you've enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing. It means a very lot to me. I'm trying to get to 200 subscribers by the end of the month. Small acorns, big outcome. It's going to be a big 2025. But for now, wherever you're watching the football, be good humans, do good things, and please, please enjoy your football.